over our frame.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Off the frame,
But
yes.
now he's going to do the officer about shooting.
Yeah, we're doing, this is kind of a two-part presser.
So, listen up, guys. So this will be a two-part. The superintendent will narrate the body worn camera release, and then we will segue. Then I'll ask you to pause just for a second to ask our law enforcement partners to join in behind the superintendent. Then we'll segue into the updates. Everybody tracking? Everybody hot?
So good afternoon. Today, the New Orleans Police Department is releasing a body-worn camera video to the public that does involve the shooting of a New Orleans police officer who was involved in an event that did result in the officer using his firearm. The event did occur within the last couple of weeks. It was on December the 4th, about 6:30 in the evening. And the location was at the corner of, I have it right here, where is that? Basin and St. Louis Street. So the event was a result of a stolen vehicle. And a unmarked police car saw the stolen vehicle. So he attempted to pull the car over, but it can't because he's unmarked. So he called for a marked unit to assist in pulling this stolen vehicle over. And so at the time, the marked unit was occupied by a sole police officer, a lieutenant in rank, Lieutenant Dan Anderson, and he was able to actually at the stoplight kind of get in front of the stolen vehicle and block it, if you will. The unmarked patrol cars were behind the stolen vehicle. When the driver of the stolen vehicle, when the perpetrator realized that he was going to be stopped and knowing he was in a stolen vehicle, he tried to flee. But in doing so, and when you see the body-worn camera footage, you will note that the driver, the perpetrator, quickly backs up, although he's blocked, and he backs into one of the patrol cars. It's an unmarked patrol car. But then he tries to get away again, and he strikes another vehicle, another patrol car. But as he actually does try to break out of the box, he hits a third vehicle, and that is an occupied innocent vehicle. So two people occupied that vehicle. You'll see in the video how the stolen car hits it pretty hard. There's the third car that is occupied by two innocent people to such a degree that even the airbag explodes. And so the officer, as this car is trying to get away, the officer who was in the marked vehicle got out, and as it was trying to get away and flee, the officer did discharge his weapon 2 times. He did not strike anyone, and therefore no one has been injured in this particular shooting. The car, as I said, did get away briefly. The officer jumped back into his patrol car and tried to catch that vehicle, but the vehicle got up onto the interstate. It was located later. It had been abandoned in the 7th District, and our officers were able to recover the vehicle. The officer, this is a hard job, as y'all know. And these are situations in which officers have to make split-second decisions. I am very grateful to our officers who day in and day out, as our mayor always says, day in and day out, you go out there and you do the hard job. And it can be life-threatening for so many of them. And I'm just grateful that he is okay and that no one else was injured. Even the people in the innocent guys who were in that car, I was there, I spoke with them. They were shaken up, but they were not injured. And for that, we are grateful as well. And so that, if you have any other questions, I do have Lieutenant Hilo here. He is in charge of the force investigation team. But because the case is not closed, I really can't comment. We wanted to get the video out to you, but it is still an open investigation. And if you have a question for us, we'll try to answer it.
We'll start with you, Jonah, and then we'll end over here. We'll have one round, one question. One round, one question. Go ahead, Jonah.
I just had a question. Are you all, I know those internal investigations on into the the release of that service weapon, are you all identifying the officers that fired that weapon at the moment?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry, John, I may not have heard your question correctly.
Are you all going to identify the officer who fired that service weapon?
Yes, and the officer's name is Lieutenant Dan Anderson, and he has been placed back onto duty. It is a normal standard protocol. I think everybody knows that if an officer is involved in a shooting, they are reassigned just until we can make sure they're okay. And he's been placed back into duty, which is our normal protocol.
Chris?
Chief, did the officers know who the suspect was behind the vehicle? Do they have any sense of whether or not this was a violent offender? And has he been arrested or she?
So as of right now, the identity of the driver of the stolen vehicle is unknown. They have not been located yet.
Did you know?
So I know you said Lieutenant Dan is back on standard duty. Was he put on leave for the time at first?
Sure. So all of our officers, if they are involved in any shooting or sometimes some other form of deadly force events, it is a protocol. So they don't get a choice, and we don't get a choice, and nor would we. We always put the officers into an administrative timeout. They see by our psychologist, making sure they're okay, and so that is a normal standard protocol. So he's back on duty. He's been cleared for duty.
Chief, after you saw this video, do you personally feel that the use of force was justified?
You know, what I do know is that I have promised every single officer, just like you get due process, and that means all pieces of the puzzle need to be in place, meaning a final investigation before I will comment. And so I've taken that practice always because I think everybody deserves to have all pieces of the puzzle put into play, which we do through investigations. And so I will comment when the investigation is over.
Missy.
Yes, it was a stolen vehicle. How recently had it been stolen and from where?
I don't have that information on me. I know it was confirmed stolen through our dispatch, so it had been reported and entered into the National Crime Information Center database at the time of the attempted stop.
We'll get that for you, Missy. Okay, if you can give us about 30 seconds to this transition, and have our partners just to come by our superintendent, and we'll transition into the updates for you.
All right, so I wanted our community to know the work that their police department has done, the incredible work they have done in light of the spate of shootings that we have had. Now, I know that our community is aware of our statistics and that we have done an incredible job of lowering our murder rate in this city, and that is still true today. So as of this morning, our city has had 124 murders this year, as compared to this time last year was 188. So that's about a 35% reduction, still way ahead of national average. But even if you looked at 2 years ago, this date, 2 years ago, we are over 50% reduction. But I also know that when the community is seen on the news day in and day out, I'm like you, I'm a member of the community, and you see a spate of shootings, you think, wow, are we safe? And I am here to tell you, yes, you are. And yet I want to go beyond a statistic. And I want to tell you what we've done since the beginning of this spree of shootings, which began at the second line on Almanaster. So with that, we also had a few more shootings. As you're all aware, we've had some homicides, and we have solved almost every single one of them. The one that I can tell you that we haven't solved yet in the sense of we don't have the person in custody, but we do know who you are, and we got an arrest warrant. And even as we speak right now, we have a team out there just about to get this person in custody. So I wanted to turn it over again to the men and women who are the ones literally putting these cases together. And they're behind me. And we also have our partners here because y'all need to know as a city that this police department really is genuinely in partnership. It sounds nice to say it, but we actually are. It is a absolute full court press. So from our community, from our mayor's office, I can't think of it, I've said it many times, our mayor is probably the #1 champion of the New Orleans Police Department. So John Thomas, who used to be a chief here, a deputy superintendent, he represents the mayor's office. We appreciate your partnership there. Y'all know John Williams. He is a part of our crime reduction strategy and is making a difference, getting the community and into the neighborhoods to disrupt this violence. I can't say enough about our council members who are always with us representing the voice of your constituents and the members of the city. And you also constantly see the incredible work that this police department does. You know our white shirts, and they'll introduce themselves. I've got, our executive director, Darlene Cosenza, with Crime Stoppers, and the tips we are getting on solving these murders and these shootings. A lot of them are coming through Crime Stoppers, y'all. That's why it's so important to have Darlene here, representing what we can do for you, our wonderful DA. We can arrest these people, but then it has to go and transition over to the district attorney. I appreciate your stance, your values, your willingness, that once we make a case, you are willing to take it all the way. And it's about not only holding people accountable, but giving them an opportunity to change their lives, y'all. So restoration matters. But I now want to turn to our wonderful homicide detectives. Y'all, I introduced them last week because we roll out the white shirts all the time. But these are these are the men and women right here who go out and actually put these cases together. And then the uniform patrol people go out and actually then help literally get the person into custody. So I want to thank you. I really do. I'm very proud of you. And so I am now going to actually turn the podium over to individuals like the captain. I don't know who's going first. Is it you, Captain Roberts? Yes. Okay. We want to talk about the specific shootings and what we've done. Right? So, Captain, if you don't mind coming forward and addressing your shootings.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give everyone an update as it relates to the 3 shootings that we had during the course of Bayou Classic weekend. The first one I'll talk about is the one that happened Sunday, December 1st at 2:30 in the morning, and that was the quadruple shooting in the 700 block of Canal Street. This is the case where I talked about where there were 2 individuals who were engaged in a fist fight. During that time, the 700 block of Canal Street, both of those individuals produced firearms and began to shoot at each other. During the course of shooting at each other, they didn't hit each other, but 4 innocent individuals were shot. Those individuals have all been released from the hospital and are in good condition. I am pleased to announce today that the hard work of the men and women of the 8th District in collaboration with several parishes and several other law enforcement agencies, we have placed Mr. Chandler Davenport, black male, 87 and 94, in jail. He's 30 years old, and he has a East Baton Rouge Parish residence address. We charged him the other day with 4 counts of aggravated second-degree battery, aggravated assault on a police officer, illegal discharge of a firearm, and felon in possession of a firearm. Mr. Davenport has an arrest history that stems from Maryland in 2015. He was arrested in Maryland in 2015 for a sexual assault. He was also arrested in Maryland for an aggravated assault. Coming to Baton Rouge in 2019, he pled guilty to domestic aggravated battery, which makes him the convicted felon at that time. We've worked very diligently and closely with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, their homicide unit, and their gang unit. I couldn't give more props to them. We really work closely together and getting this individual in custody. We also work with the U.S. Marshals, the Eastern and the Middle District, in helping secure arrest warrants and search warrants on Mr. Davenport's residence. Since the incident occurred in the 8th District that morning, my detectives in the 8th District have remained steadfast and diligent and relentless in their investigation. They did extensive follow-up investigation, interviewed several witnesses, many witnesses, combed through several videos and leads. Through that, they were able to track Mr. Davenport throughout the French Quarter that night on video and into the DDD, where he got into a vehicle. We were able to get the license plate off that vehicle, and through further investigation and evidence, we were able to identify Mr. Davenport as one of the trigger pullers in this incident. Of course, he's not being very cooperative right now during his interview, but we did execute a search warrant and on his vehicle and his home, and then we did recover a firearm as well as some of the distinct clothing that he wore that night. Of course, he's not being cooperative, but he did place himself through interview on the scene that night. We are confident that in the next couple of days, we will have the second individual in custody. I don't want to release that information right now on how we got that information, so it won't compromise the case, but I'm confident that we'll be here again in the next few days, giving you the information on the second perpetrator of that incident.
Good job. I now want to bring to the podium Captain Jennifer Dupree. I believe you're going to speak to the shooting of the second line, kind of what started off this. You already know we got into custody already the person who was responsible for the murder, but she has an update on the others who have been shot at that event. So go ahead, Pam.
So at the 9 Times second line, November 17th, 1800 block of Almanaster, about 3:35 p.m., 10 people were shot that day, soon after we had the homicide. But during this incident, soon after, the detectives went out there and worked relentlessly. They did 8 search warrants that night, and they continued to date. They've done 12 search warrants have been executed in regards to this investigation. On scene, the investigators got the information real quick about a blue in color Mercedes SUV that fled. Within that evening, our state police partners and our VK unit located that vehicle. Did a search warrant of the vehicle, located a .45 caliber handgun. With that, they observed from numerous information they got from people that the car was stolen. They made an arrest that day on a Tave Roach, 5/22 of '88. He was arrested and charged with felon in possession of a firearm and possession of a stolen automobile, and that investigation which led to us making an additional arrest. Through the course of the investigation, the lead detective, Michael Flores of the 5th District, did an outstanding job. He was able to secure an arrest warrant for Alex Harris, 129/92. Mr. Harris also was one of the victims of the shooting. He was one of the 10 that was shot on scene, and we believe that the incident occurred due to an argument between 2 subjects. They started a feud, produced a handgun. When he produced that handgun, not only did he get shot, but 9 innocent people also were shot in that. Alex Harris was on parole at the time of the second line for felon in possession of a firearm and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl till 2036. With that information, we got with the state police, probation and parole, and he was arrested for that. So with that, Mr. Harris was charged with felon in possession of a firearm, illegal discharge of a firearm, reckless discharge of a firearm during a parade, probation violations, and also working with the DA, he'll be charged with the shooting at that second line. Mr. Tave Roach was arrested with felon of a firearm, theft of a motor vehicle, and possession of stolen auto.
Right. Excellent work. I appreciate that. With respect to the Iberville, I think you know that the event that occurred on Iberville, we have that person already in custody. We are, one of the main trigger pullers in that case was in custody. I believe that we also have warrants on the other 2, and it's just a matter of time of picking them up. We're chasing them. And then with respect to the most current, Chief, I know you didn't prepare you to come to the podium, but come on up here. I want you to address the recent homicide from yesterday and share what we can, okay?
Okay, one of the things that occurred was streak of violence, and we did have a homicide in the 7th District involving a Cox cable worker who was shot several times and actually was expired at the hospital. So with that said, our homicide unit did a great job, as well as our 7th District officers. They actually identified the individual through this extensive investigative work. It's just seems like another day for them to solve another homicide. They did a great job with that. With that, I'd like to bring Chief Legrano on. Our VALS unit is actually looking for this individual also, and we believe we're close together. So I'll have Chief Legrano come up and kind of give you some details on any questions you have, and then give you more specific details.
So if I may, VALS is an acronym for a Violent Offender Warrant Squad. So it is the VALS team that is literally on the hunt and knows who this person is. But go ahead, Chief.
Good afternoon. So like Chief Conte had mentioned, we had a homicide Monday, December 16th in New Orleans East. That took place at 12:41 p.m. in the 8,000 block at the Wire. The victim was a 25-year-old male, Adam Brown. He was a Cox cable worker. He was actually in that block working for Cox, installing cable. Officers responded to that incident around 12:41, and the victim was transported to UMC, where he later expired of his injuries. We have identified an individual as the shooter in this incident, and that's going to be a Jalil Williams, born 7/14/96. We do have an arrest warrant for him for second-degree murder, and we're currently searching for him.
So if I may, I'm going to ask our council to come forward. So Councilmember Greenberg and then Councilmember Thomas, and then I will be asking as well for district attorney. So go ahead.
Thank you, Chief, and I take time to, as I do often, just express my sincere appreciation to the members of the New Orleans Police Department for the work that they do. A lot of work that goes unseen, but it's so important in terms of making our citizens safer. Commendations, of course, to the homicide team, if you will, the members who work together, again, in the interest of our citizens, keeping them safer, also in the interest of apprehending those who have done our citizens wrong. So my commendations. I'm also pleased today that I attended a meeting and I saw the chief and the district attorney speaking together, and we were there with state officials, and they had positive things to say about the New Orleans Police Department. Of course, we talked about Troop NOLA and the work that they're doing. So I almost started to take this sweater off because it looks a little bit festive. I was going to be a little bit more conservative. But then I decided to keep it on because I have a message for those who are committing these crimes. So during this holiday season, if you committed this crime, you're on the run. You're going to get caught. You're on the run. You also hurt someone in the actions that you took. For example, yesterday, the person who was working for Cox Cable, now his family is bereaved at a time when they should be celebrating. This should be a time of celebration, but for those who continue to think that the law enforcement community is going to forget about you and you can do whatever you want, you're wrong. You're going to be caught. This New Orleans Police Department has a high solve rate. This New Orleans Police Department has a very committed group of officers and team members who want to keep our citizens safer by apprehending those who have done wrong. I want to thank you, Chief, and those who are with us from the New Orleans Police Department. I want to thank you in advance, Mr. District Attorney, for the work that you're going to do. You recognize how important it is to keep our citizens safer. But sometimes in the position that I'm in, I can say some things that the members of the New Orleans Police Department might not say. To those who perpetrate crimes and feel that you have no other alternatives, I want to emphasize to you that even within the New Orleans Police Department, there are social workers at every district station. You can walk into a district station and say, I have a problem, can you help me with it? And there are so many sincere individuals who are working with victims and with those who might be in trouble that you can get the help that you need. The City Council has funded a number of initiatives that give you an opportunity to work with someone who can provide you with the assistance. whether it be in the form of trauma recovery, whether it be in terms of mental health capacity, and the like. Please take advantage. Before you commit a crime, if you feel that you need to just walk into City Hall unarmed and ask for someone to help, you'll find the help that you need, because you're going to be caught. You're going to be caught. Today's press conference is about the excellence of the New Orleans Police Department, the excellence of the homicide squad in conducting investigations and making arrests that are constitutional and help keep our citizens safer. What you've seen recently doesn't take away from the fact that crime is moving in the right direction in our city. Violent crime is moving down. There are too many outliers, of course, but it doesn't change the fact that our New Orleans Police Department is working hard with its federal, state, and local officials, and also our prosecuting officials, and also the judges, to create the cases that are going to have you, if you commit a crime, to be out of society. I just encourage you to do something different at this time with your life. But I just want to end where I started. Thank you, members of the New Orleans Police Department. Thank you to that team that is working to help keep our citizens safer. We are safe. There's a lot that needs to be done. And I just want to predict right now, based on the work of this police department, that 2025 is even going to be better. We're going to see even lower numbers because we have the concerted effort of a dedicated group of officers and leaders who really are invested in our city and want to see this trend continue. So I'm looking forward to working with you. Ask us for what you need, and we're going to work to provide it. But once again, thank you for the work that you do. It's greatly appreciated.
Chief, I just came here to support you and the men and women behind me. This really isn't about me. Thank you for the invitation. The two things that were really important: highlighting people's work. Everybody else in the system is supposed to do their job. And what they do on the ground is the reason why we're here today. And the other thing you did was you highlighted the community. This doesn't work without Dr. Ernest Johnson and the Greenfield Village, Illuminating Youth in New Orleans East, Calvin Pepper and Kim Kashif, the Beef Mediators and Peacekeepers Group. So thank you for acknowledging the community. That partnership with the men and women behind us is the reason why we can have success and the reason why we can begin to solve these crimes. So thank you so much.
Councilman Green, I'm glad you kept your sweater on. This is a moment to celebrate the extraordinary work of the women and men of the New Orleans Police Department. The force hasn't doubled in size. And when you look at the sustained public safety gains over a 2-year period, more than any other city in this country, more than any other parish in this state, it wasn't because we doubled the number of police. They've just been doubling down day in and day out, staying on top of these gains to make sure that we don't backslide. And Chief, I really am so, I just think it's just so wonderful that you're celebrating the folks that are beating the pavement, getting on these cases from the very jump. When you see these people, whether they finally get a moment to shop for their families or get a moment to get a cup of coffee or whatever, these are the people that are making New Orleans safer. And thank you for celebrating them. And to the people of the city of New Orleans, you all are that other player on the field, right? When you call Crime Stoppers and you provide that tip, it may not be that you saw this shot, maybe that you saw the car. There's no detail that's not too small. We're the end user at Tulane and Broad. We're the ones who have to present this case and take from probable cause to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And we can do that with this great police work and with the members of the community realizing the only way that we maintain these public safety gains is if they continue to cooperate when somebody does wrong, whether they're related to them or not. And so I said, you've heard the names of the people we're looking for. And so if they find themselves at your Christmas dinner table, by your tree, during this holiday season, and you let them in and you don't call the police department, you're committing a crime. And you will be charged and you will be prosecuted. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Pastor, would you come forward for us and thank you for being honest. The pastor is not only a member of our community, but he is a part of our strategy, because we need you. We need you to help us, and you are. But Pastor, if you'll speak to everyone, and appreciate you.
Good evening. There's a statement that comes to mind about Germany during the time in which Hitler imposed all that evil in their face. And the statement was said that the only way for evil to prevail is for good people to sit idly by and say nothing. And I'm telling you, City of New Orleans, listen, it is time for you to step up to the plate. As you all heard the testimonies of everybody who stood at this podium, we're talking about the great work that's being performed by all the different agencies coming together under one umbrella to form a collaborative that's producing these fantabulous results. And I, for one, being a lifelong resident of New Orleans, I feel more safe in New Orleans now than I have since the 1990s, when we had those community police departments that were placed inside of the projects. When Chief Pennington came in, I have to say to you, Chief, wonderful job. Our chief is one who is not only come in to fulfill a role or a job as a police chief, but she has truly adopted the city of New Orleans. She is concerned about everything that concerns New Orleans citizens. And I promise you, if you have the opportunity, if you've ever been privileged to have a chance to just sit and talk to this lady, you will find that everything that she does it with her whole heart. I want to thank our council persons, Eugene Green and Oliver Thomas, for being so actively involved in everything pertaining to our city, because I need you all to understand that they don't just govern their districts. They are literally out. Whenever anything occurs in the city of New Orleans that causes any citizen of New Orleans to experience discomfort, they are there. I want to thank personally DA Jason Williams, because I remember a time when the DA's office and the police department could not get along. And I'm so grateful that at one of the early city community-wide meetings that we had, when Chief first took office, how they met together under one umbrella inside a church, and they vowed to us that they would do the necessary work to not only get the violent offenders off the street, but to keep them off the street. So citizens of New Orleans, listen, stand up, say something, because we have an organization like Crime Stoppers who's securing all type of resources to support you and bless you, reward you for being bold enough to say something. But I can promise you this, if we don't say anything, then we're going to constantly be in a reactionary mode. And I don't like being reactionary. I like being progressive. We want to be ahead. So when you know that someone is even plotting a crime, as the DA said, don't partake in it. Don't listen to it. Don't give them refuge. In any way, say something before, because if you say something prior to, then that keeps us from having to come to these podiums every time and talk about homicide and the homicides that are going up. Sure, the numbers are great. Let's just be honest. We all feel great about it. But as the chief says all the time in a GRIP meeting, one murder is one too many, because somebody's family has been impacted by that. So listen, citizens of New Orleans, pastors, clergy, it's time for us to step up and do our part. Every other component of our city is actively doing what they're doing. We now need to step up and do what it is that we have to do. God bless you all. Merry Christmas to each and every last one of you, and continue to do the great job. I'm proud to be a partner in this organization.
Thank you. Now, this is Darlene, if you'll come forward. She's going to tell our community how they can partner with us with your information. So go ahead, Darlene.
So as you heard today, and we talked a lot about the word peacemaker came out multiple times. And I'm going to tell you, there's a beautiful Catholic prayer. It's our family prayer that talks about parents, help raise your children to be peacemakers. And that's the message today, right? The message is to step up for each other. It's to be the eyes and ears that you protect not only yourself and your family, but those who live in your neighborhoods. And Crime Stoppers has been here a long time. You've heard it. We're going to take that information from you, and we're going to do it in a very safe way. We're going to fight to make sure that you're anonymous if you want to be anonymous. And that even goes to the reward payout stage. It's paid out in cash, and no one ever knows other than by a tip number. So waiting doesn't make any sense anymore, does it? Because what you're seeing is the actions from the folks behind me and around me who take that information, ask for that information, take it, and make the credible case closures and arrest. So I thank you for being part of our team. Thank you, everyone. And let's make this season in 2025, the new motto is, we're the peacemakers, We are speaking up. You can say it at Crime Stoppers. Thank you.
I'm going to bring it to a close before I ask questions. I'm going to ask my detectives, y'all come a little closer. I want you front and center. I want your family and friends to see you. I want to celebrate you, and because I am extremely proud of you. So thank you. I'm going to get out of the way so they can see you. But I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, truly. And we are going in the right direction, and I want our community to feel safe, to align with the reality, and the reality is you are safer. And we are going to commit these resources to you, and the chief here is even adding more resources down in the French Quarter. So that's where our community goes for fun and celebration. We are getting safer. I'm proud of this city. I love this city. Thank you for having me. But we'll turn it over now for any questions, and I'm just, you can even ask the detectives a question if you would like. So go ahead. Does anyone have anything you would like to ask, or particularly of our detectives, our heroes here?
One question, one round. Go ahead, Jonah.
I have a question for you. I know we don't hear about officer-involved shootings often in New Orleans.
Right.
But was it alarming to you to hear that Officer Dan Anderson was involved in an officer-involved shooting, considering he was suspended before for an officer-involved shooting that happened back in 2021 on Buggy Road?
Well, you know, I wasn't here in 2021, and as I have said, and I'm going to say it each and every time, officers will have complete and due process before I comment on anyone's shooting. So we are going to bring those videos to you, and that's what we've done today. But this investigation is not closed, and so with that, I don't know. Okay, I won't speak to it. They are do that, and so are you. If you found yourself in a situation, in a criminal proceeding or any kind of investigation, it is only right to give you your due process. So what's good for you will be applied to these officers, okay?
Chief, related to the officer-involved shooting as well, when it comes to how the officers are trained when it comes to deadly force and a suspect using a vehicle, what message, what training do officers receive when it comes to drawing that line when a suspect is using a vehicle, whether or not it's deadly force?
Well, I will say what the law is, and so the law is the foundation of whether or not how the officer perceives the threat in the situation they are in. And those are the standards that we also apply. And so as I said, and that's how we train on policy and we train on the law. And until this investigation is over, then I will not speak to it. But I can tell you that on the training, they are trained on both the law and they're trained on our policies.
26. 4.
Can we talk a little bit more about the homicide involving the Cox worker? Have we gotten anywhere with the motive? Do we know, was this targeted? Was this disgruntled over a high Cox bill?
Who's handling that one? Is that yours? Okay, come on to the podium. You get to speak
Hello,
to that.
I'm Detective Riffle. I'm assigned to the Homicide Division. I didn't expect to be speaking today, but we believe the motive is attempted armed robbery at this point, to answer your question.
4.
I'm
sorry.
Okay.
Missy.
Great to hear about these arrests in some of these mass shootings happening in public events. I know that some federal partners are already arriving in New Orleans in preparation for the Super Bowl. Can you talk about strategies for public safety as that looms?
Oh, if you had a great time at Taylor Swift, you're going to have a great time at Super Bowl. So we're using the foundation and the strategy that we used at Taylor Swift. It was fantastic, wasn't it? And so we're going to use that same strategy, but we have a whole lot more partners, and we have a whole lot more logistics associated. But if you had a great time at Taylor Swift, you're going to have a great time at Super Bowl.
All right, thank y'all for coming out. We appreciate it.
Chief, this is yours. Thank you, Chief.
You did a nice job.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
That was the link with the video, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
See everything you need. Does Jonah come here tearing our stuff up?
That's my stuff, my bad.
I ain't trying to get